Hi Year 5, so today it is chapter 12 of the Jamie Drake equation. Squeezed next to Mum and Charlie on the sofa, I stare at Dad's face on our brand new TV. This one fixed higher up on the wall so Grandad can't pull it down. Behind Dad and I see a tangle of wires and cables snaking around the interior of the International Space Station. Back here on Earth, Hayley is sitting in the armchair next to the living room door, out of sight of the video camera, but still close by in case anything goes wrong with the connection. Hey guys, Dad says, his face breaking into a smile. How are you doing? Because of the satellite relay, there's always a 2-second delay between the moment Dad speaks and when we hear him. At first, it's made our video calls a bit of a nightmare, as Charlie kept getting upset when Dad didn't seem to be listening to her straight away. But we worked out a system now. Charlie talks first so she can tell Dad her news, while Mum and I wait for our turn. So while Charlie starts telling Dad about how she fed the bunnies at nursery school today, I think about what happened with my phone. Professor Forster said that the only extraterrestrial signal the human race has ever received was a 72-second beacon beam from the stars. On Friday, Dad's sending a swarm of space probes to Tau Ceti, one of our nearest stars, but they'll still take 15 years to get there, travelling at nearly light speed. And any information they beam back will take another 15 years to reach Earth. So if Buzz is a message sent from another alien planet, how come it's talking back to me? On the rug in front of the TV, Charlie's showing Dad how she's learnt to do a cartwheel. Collapsing in a giggling heap on the floor, she squeals with delight as Dad demonstrates a space somersault, his head disappearing backwards as his knees and legs fill the screen before flipping right round again. Again, Charlie squeals, still giggling uncontrollably. Then she stops and turns towards Mum with a worried look on her face. I think I've done a wee. Never mind, Mum replies with a weary sigh. Getting up from the sofa, she takes Charlie by the hand. I'll just have to get her a change of clothes, Dan. Mum says as Dad raises a guilty hand in apology. Why don't you have a chat with Jamie? On the TV screen, I watch as Dad plucks a floating pen out of the air. Oops, pen overboard, he says. One of the hazards of space gymnastics. He tucks this back into his top pocket and then nods his head as if hearing Mum reply. So how are things with you, son? I don't know what to say. From the hallway, I can still hear Charlie complaining as Mum leads her up the stairs. The silence lengthens into 6, 7, 8 seconds. My brain's still trying to find the right words. Are you still receiving me? Dad asks, leaning towards the camera with a frown. We're still receiving you, Dan, Hayley calls out brightly from the other side of the room. Jamie's just having a bit of a think. She gets up out of her chair. I'll just go and give your mum a hand with Charlie, she says, moving towards the door, giving you and your dad some space to talk. Is everything okay? Dad asks, his voice overlapping with the end of Hayley's sentence as she heads up the room. I watch him bob in microgravity, his face still seized in concern. Dad, I say, I think I've got aliens on my phone. There's a pause as my words zoom 400 kilometres up into space. Then Dad laughs out loud. Good one, Jamie, he says with a grin. Is this some new game you've got then? I thought Mum wasn't too keen on you downloading things to your phone. No, Dad, I try to explain, struggling to put it all into words. I think it's a real alien message. You see, I downloaded it from the Hubble Space Telescope. At first I thought it was some kind of computer virus, as it just kept on buzzing all the time. But then it tried to turn my finger into a torch. All these really weird things have been happening at school today, and now it's starting to talk to me. It says its name is Buzz. I think it's... Whoa, Dad says, the echo of his voice cutting across mine. Slow down, Jamie. You're not making any sense. I pause to catch my breath. It's weird. Dad might be the one who's weightless, but I kind of feel lighter too, now that I've told him everything. Dad always said I can tell him anything, any problem I've got, any worry I have, and he'll help me to sort it. That's why it's been so hard with Dad up in space, especially when the main thing I'm worried about is Dad being up in space. Now at least I've got my own problem for him to sort out. All I needed was for Dad to believe me, and now he'll be able to tell me what to do. First of all, the Hubble Space Telescope stopped working last year, Dad says, so you couldn't have downloaded anything from it, especially not an alien message. I know, but Professor Forster hacked into the telescope. Who's Professor Forster? She's an astronomer, I tell him. I met her at the observatory at the top of Beacon Hill. She's looking for aliens just like you. Jamie, my mission's a bit more complicated than that. I think the signal might be some kind of distress call. Buzz says they'll need help. Our sentences are overlapping now, the satellite delay causing our words to crash into each other. Raising his hand, Dad waits until there's a moment of silence and he starts to speak again. I know this mission has been hard on you, Jamie, he says, especially with me missing your birthday on Friday. But you don't have to make up this story about alien messages just to get my attention. It's not a story, I protest, pulling out my mobile phone. On the home screen, the golden spiral is frozen mid-spin. Taking the phone out of silent mode, I tap my finger against the screen, but nothing happens. No buzzing sound, no robotic voice. Nothing to prove I'm telling the truth. It is true, I say, holding the phone up to the camera so Dad can see the home screen. I think this spiral is the alien signal. I just need your help. Need you to help me work out what it all means. On the TV screen, Dad's frown deepens as he listens to my words. That's when I realise he doesn't believe me. My voice trails into silence. I don't know what else I can say. Look, Jamie, Dad replied, his face still creased in concern. After Friday, the Lux Orterna mission will be complete. The light swarm probes will be on their way to Tau Ceti and I can head for home. Why don't you show me this signal when I get back and we can work out what it is then? Dad's mission is all about searching for signs of alien life, so why wouldn't he believe what I'm saying? But before I can say anything else, Mum walks back into the living room. Hayley's helping Charlie get dressed, she announces as she sits back down on the sofa. She wants to show you the fancy dress spacesuit she's going to wear to nursery after your spacewalk on Friday. While she waits for Dad to get the message via the satellite relay, Mum turns towards me. Could I just have a word with your dad on my own for a bit, Jamie? She asks. We've got a few things we need to discuss in private. Still feeling let down by Dad's reaction, I nod my head. I've got to go now, Dad, I say, getting up from the sofa. I'll see you soon. Bye, Jamie, Dad calls out, holding up his hand like he always does. And have a great birthday on Friday. I'll be thinking of you, son. I press my hand to get tears on the TV screen, trying my hardest not to cry. I wish he was home right now so I could talk to him properly. It's strange, but as I close the door behind me, I can only hear silence. It's as though Mum's waiting until the coast is clear, until she talks to Dad. Thinking about it, it's not really fair that she's hijacked our family video call just to have a private chat with him. What's so private that they can't talk about it in front of me anyway? And then the answer jumps into my head. My birthday present. Dad says he's got me the best Lego set ever, but how is he going to get this to me from all the way up in space? Standing completely still, I press my ear to the door. If I'm going to have a birthday surprise on Friday, I want to know what it is. For a second, I still can't hear a thing. Then the sound of Mum's voice comes through the door. I got the letter from your solicitor, Dan. There's another 2 seconds of silence, and then I hear Dad's reply. Well, we both agreed it was for the best. I thought it would help to get things moving. Mum laughs, but from where I'm standing behind the door, this doesn't sound like a happy laugh. I'm starting to feel confused. What's this all got to do with my birthday present? You've always got to be first, haven't you, she says, even when it comes to getting a solicitor. I still don't know what they're talking about. Being an astronaut is a dangerous job. There are tons of things that can go wrong in space, and Dad says you've got to be prepared for the worst. Maybe this letter from a solicitor is to do with Dad's will, making sure that Mum, Charlie and me are taken care of if anything goes wrong. Not that it will. He'll be back home safe next week. But it's what I hear Dad say next which rips the ground from beneath my feet and sends my head spinning. 16 years of marriage is a long time, Ali. Long enough to work out we both want different things. Let's try and keep this divorce civilised like we both agreed. I stand there completely frozen, my ears still glued to the door. I can't have heard this right. Mum and Dad love each other. How can they be getting divorced? When do you want to tell Jamie and Charlie, Mum asks. There's another long pause, 2 seconds that feel like a lifetime to me. When I get back home, Dad says, we'll tell them together. Behind me, I hear the sound of my little sister stomping down the stairs. Look, Jamie, Charlie yells. I turn to see a mini astronaut standing at the bottom of the stairs. Charlie is dressed from head to toe in a white jumpsuit with silver gloves and a big rocket badge. Her excited face beams out from her shiny space helmet. I'm an astronaut. Behind her, Hayley peers at me with a puzzled look on her face. Are you okay, Jamie, she says. Has your dad had to end the video call? No, I say, quickly turning away. Mum's still talking to Dad. I just need some fresh air. As Charlie rushes into the living room to show Dad her spacesuit, I head for the kitchen. Opening the back door, I step out into the garden, staring through my tears up into the sky full of stars. From the open barn door comes the thunderous sound of drums. Grandad's snares hit and cymbal crashes, soundtracking the confusion that's now swirling my head. Nothing makes any sense. I thought Mum and Dad were getting on better now. They've not argued since Dad went into space. I thought they still loved each other. How can they be splitting up? 90 degrees above the horizon, I see what looks like a bright star moving quickly across the sky. Automatically, I reach for the phone in my pocket, ready to check whether it's Dad passing overhead on the ISS. But on the home screen, I see the golden spiral still frozen mid-spin, and I remember that I've got something else to worry about. And if Dad doesn't believe me, I know someone who will. That's the end of chapter 12. Bye.
Hello Year 5, so again inspired by the Jamie Drake equation, our book, we're going to be writing this week about a takeoff, flying through space and a landing on an alien planet. Today's part is just the takeoff, so that's the only bit we're concentrating on. I'll go into it in more detail in a minute about what I want you to write. But first of all, for inspiration, you're going to need to watch this video, which is from a film called Apollo 13. And it's Apollo 13, the rocket launch scene. So you need to stop watching this video now. In the description box, there's a link to this video. Watch the video of the launch and then come back and I'll go through a few things that I've noticed from watching it that we can put into our writing. So I've just watched the video, so I hope you have too. Thinking about just the launch today. So you're launching off in a space rocket. So we're going to be writing in the first person as you as the astronaut. So things that I got from the video that I think we should include are getting into the suit. That started on the clip there. So getting into the suit, what does that feel like? Having that helmet clipped on, being all sealed in. So getting into the suit you need to mention. Walking across the gantry. So once they were in their suits, they walked across that bridge to get to the rocket. How were they feeling as they walk across there? Then about being strapped in, having those straps pulled tight there, and then the doors locking and knowing then that you're sealed in. Thinking about hearing mission control, things that you might hear, some speech that might be in your writing. So I heard things like flight, go for launch, T minus 60 seconds, and obviously the countdown from 10. There's definitely the bit about when the rockets blast and the rocket starts to shake and what the feelings that would be like for you as an astronaut, all that power underneath you. All through these things, I want you to think about your senses, things you'd hear, the things you'd feel, all those things, what would you see? So definitely in the space rocket you would see all the buttons, there's lights and all those things, you'd be hearing mission control, and obviously about your feelings. How are you feeling as you walk across the gantry? How are you feeling getting into the suit? How are you feeling as you hear that 10, 9, 8? So there's things to think of that I want you to describe from your perspective as an astronaut in the launch. So I've also found this Tim Peake recount which might help you and inspire you again, and there might be some things you can magpie. So he's recounting there, but we're just going to go to this bit where he's talking about the takeoff. So it says, blast off finally came. Tucked up in insulated spacesuits, extra boosters were added to the Soyuz rocket space shuttle in case we broke down after we left our atmosphere. Scott Kelly and Tim Copper were reassuring. As we ascended the space shuttle ramp, a feeling of excitement as I had never known it washed over me. As we took our seats and were strapped in, that feeling multiplied 100-fold. As mission control boomed the countdown, my pulse was racing, my feet tingling and my stomach churning. Mission control thundered, blast off. The smell of burning filled my senses. Roaring explosions burst outside like fireworks. That was it. We were off. It was magical. Now that's a really good piece of writing that you can use to magpie. He's talking about being strapped in. He's using his senses, what he can smell, what it's like to be there. So you could use this and the video to inspire you for your writing. So again, to assist you, I'm showing you this, which is normally in your tray at school, your adverbials for cohesion, because the TLP for today is can you write by using words such as then, after that, this, firstly, to build connections in a paragraph. So I'm giving you some extra ones there to build cohesion, because you want your paragraph to read, it's a recount. So it needs to have a first, a next, and those sorts of things. So there's some extra ones. They won't all be applicable, but again, just something else that you can use. Right, so as usual, I'll model the starting off. I'm expecting probably a whole page for this, at least, because there's so much you could write. So actually, this could be a paragraph, but you might decide to divide it up. But I'm expecting you to include all the things I've just shown you on the flip chart. So let me start writing. So there's my TLP. So as I stood. Now I'm writing this like Tim Peake did. It's in the first person, so I'm using I, and I'm using stood because it's in the past tense. It's a recount, so it's something that's already happened. So first person and past tense. So as I stood, and it was the spacesuit was the first thing, wasn't it? So let me think. As I stood in my, and I think Tim Peake said insulated, so I'm going to magpie that. As I stood in my insulated spacesuit, as I stood in my insulated spacesuit, the reality of my next, what could it be, next mission, next adventure, the reality of my next adventure hit me like, so what could that be? Hit me like a, could be a ton of bricks, hit me like a ton of bricks, hit me like a steam train, hit me like a bucket of cold water. Then I'm going to use one of my adverbials for cohesion from my sheet there, and I'm going to, so I'm going to use despite. Despite that, because remember that was one of my words I was going to use when after that, or despite that. Despite that, I moved forward. So the how was next, wasn't it? I moved forward to have my helmet snapped shut. And I'm going to put an exclamation mark in there, I think. So there you go. I've written 2 sentences just to get you started. As I stood in my insulated spacesuit, the reality of my next adventure hit me like a bucket of cold water. Despite that, I moved forward to have my helmet snapped shut. So then I'm going to look back at the flip chart and think about the other things. So then he's going to walk across the gantry, isn't he?